Did you notice all the people gathered here in our story from the Gospel of Luke this morning? It's quite a variety of people, and they're all doing something, each and every one of them. Did you notice? They're all waiting to be baptized. And it seems they're all standing in a line. One long line. I don't think I'd like that. Waiting with everyone in one long line. I don't like being in lines like that. Just around this time last year, Eric and I went to the post office. One long serpentine line attended by, guess what? One postal worker. Everyone crowded in there. It felt like we were just a bunch of sheep waiting to get our ears tagged. You ever feel like that? I don't like lines like that. I grit my teeth and I bear it. I don't really like talking to people in lines like that, but some people like that sort of thing, and for whatever reason, I end up standing next to those kinds of people. This older woman, standing in front of me, there in the line in the post office, she turns to me and says, "You'd think they'd have more than one person working this time of year." Yep, you'd think. Sure is a long line. I feel sorry for all those people waiting outside. Yep, long line. And then before you know it, I'm holding her packages, listening to her tell me about her rheumatoid arthritis and her dog and her grandchildren. I don't like these lines. And then she tells me, "You know, this will be my second Christmas since my husband died. You know, last Christmas I was so sad I couldn't even leave the house. I couldn't even mail a gift. But this year I'm doing a little better." These lines, I don't know. And does it have to be one long line? Can't we at least have multiple lines? That seems way more pragmatic, way more efficient, right? To have multiple lines like this? Well, I guess we tried that for a good while, especially here in this country. I bet some of you even remember some of these lines. You remember men stand in this line, women stand in this line. Do you remember white people stand in this line, people of color stand in this line? Or how about, if you are an owner of property, you get to stand in this line. If you work for the owners, you stand over here. I think we still have lines like that. We still try to make those pragmatic, efficient lines. But here's the thing. Luke doesn't like lines like that. Luke seems to want a world where those kinds of lines don't exist. Luke seems to like a long line with all kinds of people. Just look at this long baptismal line from our story this morning. You have all kinds of people there. You have, first of all kinds of religious folk in the line. Sunday school teachers and backwood farmers, senior wardens and backsliding bankers, they're all there, all of them. Just years of going through the motions, years of sitting in the pews and filling out the pledge card and counting the candles in the sanctuary, and they've come to be baptized by John. They felt moved. They felt moved. Maybe it was the way the choir was singing by the river, that one old mountain hymn. Bright morning star is rising, bright morning star is arising. Dawn is a breaking somewhere in my soul. Or maybe it was how the baptizer talked of their beloved ancestor. And if God can raise children from these stones to be the children of Abraham, then maybe God can raise from their hearts of stone something like faith or hope. If not for them, then at least for their children. You had poor people in line that day too. Poor people in line to be baptized. The poor are always there when the sermon's being preached outside and there's talk of free coats and a free meal. They should be there. Why wouldn't they? Maybe many of them saw something of themselves in the face of the prophet, living on his diet of locusts and wild honey and his marriage to the poverty of the wilderness. Maybe they saw something of themselves. And you had rich people there too. It says tax collectors, but we all know the crowd they ran with. Now, why on earth would the rich people show up? Who invited them? I wonder if it was Zacchaeus and maybe the rich young ruler. We don't know that, of course, but Luke brings those two characters front and center later in the gospel. It could have been them. They could have been there that day. This could have been where it all started for them and those like them. Tired of a full purse and an empty soul, finally beginning to see the vapid nature of their quest in the marketplace of possession, they want to feel something. They want meaning. They want to feel something of God moving inside them too, so they risk getting mud on their penny loafers and their neatly pressed trousers and go stand in line with the rest of them. And then, did you notice it's an odd group? We don't always hear a lot about them in the Gospels, but they're there. Did you see who else was in line? Soldiers. Roman soldiers. The enforcers of the Pax Romana, right? And if keeping the peace meant running a spear through the belly of a mouthy Jewish peasant once in a while, so be it. But there they are, sticking their sword into the muddy banks of the Jordan, throwing down their helmet, ripping off their breastplate. Trained warriors stripping their armor, exposing themselves to the piercing blow of God's love. What is it the prophet Zephaniah said? We just heard it. The Lord is a warrior in your midst. He will rejoice over you with great singing, and he will renew, some translation says he will quieten you with his love. It's quite a line. Could have done it differently. Could have done it a little more efficiently. But Luke likes a long line. Luke likes a long line filled with these people and so many others, prodigal sons and their prideful brothers, good Samaritans and the beaten down, stubborn widows and unjust judges, rich fools, old beggars, and all the lost sheep he can wrestle from the wilderness. Luke likes them all there, standing in one long line. You don't see many lines like that. Every once in a while you do. Every once in a while you might find yourself standing in one. You know, come to think of it, there's a line like that here every Sunday morning. All of us stand in a line like that over there in the parish hall. One long line of all kinds of people from all walks of life. Each of us holding out a plate to be filled with a homemade breakfast. No one gets to skip. No one gets to start another line. Just the one. You know, the more I think about it, I think Luke would like that breakfast line of ours. I think maybe that breakfast line looks a little bit like Luke's baptismal line from our story. By the way, there was someone else standing in line that day. A young man. Just looking at him, you wouldn't think much of him. He wasn't very popular. Maybe a few friends, a close-knit family. He was from Nazareth, the son of a carpenter. Sawdust in his beard and a busted thumb. His name was Jesus. And he stood there. Just another face in the crowd waiting to be baptized. Waiting with the rest of us in one long